My father dressed as Santa, gave my 7-year-old daughter a bag of garbage and a lump of coal, and told her she was too bad to deserve a gift. My mom and sister cheered him on. I didn't shout. I acted. 2 weeks later, they were the ones screaming in a panic. Christmas at my parents' house was always the same. Dinner, polite smiles, predictable small talk. Then in the morning, gifts under the tree. Nothing magical, nothing dramatic, just routine. I'd gotten used to Mom making little announcements about who was the good kid that year and who had fallen short. When I was growing up, guess who usually landed in the fallen short category? Exactly. But I'd learned to swallow it, and I honestly hoped they'd leave my daughter out of their little games. That year looked no different at first. Tree in the corner, ornaments everywhere, the smell of cinnamon and cookies. Mila was 7, still young enough to believe in magic. She buzzed around the tree like it might start talking back to her. Adrian showed up with her girls, Anna and Stella, 10 and 8. They sat there with that "we're practically teenagers" look, but anyone could see they were just as hungry for gifts as Mila. And yes, I was waiting for gifts too. Not for me. Those days are gone. I just wanted to see Mila light up. I wanted her to have her moment, without the inevitable, "look how wonderful Adrian's girls are." Then Dad walked out dressed as Santa. Red robe, floppy hat, cotton ball beard. The room gasped. The kids squealed. Mila looked like she'd forgotten how to breathe. I was shocked. In all my life, he'd never done this. Suddenly, he wanted to put on a show? Fine. Whatever. Let the kids have fun. The only weird part was he never asked me for Mila's gift. It was still sitting in our car trunk. I'd planned to sneak it under the tree later. He started handing things out. Big sack in his arms, pulling out boxes with his best ho-ho-ho voice. First up, Anna. "Santa saw you this year, Anna." So responsible. Always helping your mom. Always so grown up. Out came a box. Inside, a Nintendo Switch Lite. Anna shrieked. Mom clapped like she'd just won the lottery. Next, Stella. "Santa knows you've been kind and caring, helping your mom whenever she needed it." She got an American Girl doll, fancy, with a wardrobe and accessories. The room melted into smiles again. Stella showed off the tiny shoes and purses like she was doing a product demo. And Mila? My girl sat on the edge of her chair, fists tight, eyes wide, waiting, believing. Finally, Dad pulled out a smaller bag. "And now, for Mila." She ran over, tore it open. I watched her face fall apart in real time. Excitement, confusion, shock. She pulled out crumpled newspapers, candy wrappers, an empty yogurt cup, and a lump of coal. Silence. Mila looked up. What's this?" Dad, still playing Santa, boomed, "That's your gift, Mila." "Because you've been a bad girl this year." I froze. Dean's hand clamped over mine, his eyes saying, "Did I hear that right?" I waited for the punchline, for Dad to laugh and pull out a real gift. But he didn't. Mila's lip trembled. "But I'm good." Dad shook his head. "You're selfish." "You didn't share your toys. Santa sees everything." "But Stella broke my doll." "I only said no that one time." Mila's tears spilled over, wiping them with her sleeve. Then Mom chimed in, dead serious. "Santa's right. Good children always share. And you wouldn't even hug your grandma. You were noisy, disobedient, disrespectful." Adrian smirked, throwing in her bit. "Exactly. That's why Santa's upset with you. No presents this year. Maybe next year. If you learn your lesson." Mila turned to us, eyes huge, desperate. She believed it. Believed Santa himself had just branded her as bad. "I'm not bad!" she screamed, sobbing. Something snapped in me. I stood up. "Enough! Cut the crap!" I walked straight to my father, yanked off the fake beard. "See, sweetie? This isn't Santa. It's just Grandpa. And this is his pathetic idea of a joke. Mila froze next to me, eyes darting between me and Santa, wide and terrified. For her, it was a double hit. First Santa called her bad, then she learned it wasn't Santa at all. It was just adults messing with her. Anna frowned, muttered she knew it was just Grandpa. Stella, though, looked shaken, almost scared. The grown-ups? Stone faces, like they hadn't expected me to blow up their little pageant. Then Stella burst out crying, "Where's the real Santa?" Yeah. I killed the magic not just for Mila, but for Adrian's kids too. I knew it hurt them to see Grandpa under the beard instead of some jolly man from the North Pole. And honestly, I didn't care. Let them be mad. Let them remember this night however they want. I had only one job: protect my kid. I took the crumpled junk out of Mila's hands and dropped it on the floor, forced a smile. Mila, you are a good girl. The real Santa knows that. Always Dean finally stood up, walked over, scooped Mila into his arms. Of course, he said gently. I bet the real Santa's gift just got misplaced. It's probably waiting for you at home, under our own tree. We'll check when we get back, okay? Okay, she whispered, clinging to him like he was the only safe thing in the room. I turned to my so-called family. What you just did. Cruel. You humiliated a 7-year-old and wrecked her Christmas. For what? Some twisted idea of teaching a lesson? Mom lifted her chin, voice icy. She needs to learn to behave and understand that actions have consequences. I kept my tone flat. She did learn something tonight. She learned exactly how her grandparents treat her, and here's the consequence. We're leaving, and you'll never get another chance to hurt her again. We headed for the door. Adrian called after me, "Oh, come on, Heidi. You're overreacting." And Dad added, "We just wanted to teach her a little discipline. For her own good." We didn't answer, just grabbed our coats and left. There was nothing left to say. The whole drive home, Mila sobbed in the back seat. I sat next to her, stroking her hair, whispering it was okay. At one point, she lifted her head off my shoulder and asked, so quietly it broke me, "Mom, why did Grandpa do that?" I hugged her tighter, forcing my voice steady. "Sweetheart, he was wrong. He thought it was funny, but it wasn't. It's his fault, not yours. The real Santa loves you and would never say those things." She was quiet for a long time, then whispered, "But maybe I really am bad?" Grandpa said it. Grandma too, and Aunt Adrienne. My eyes stung. Thank God it was dark in the car. I swallowed hard. "No, baby. You're wonderful, kind, sweet, full of life. Dad and I love you so much." Dean spoke up from the driver's seat, firm and clear. "Remember this, Mila. We're proud of you. You're the best kid we could ever ask for. And if someone says otherwise, they're wrong. Their words don't matter." Mila sighed, curled back into me, and finally quieted down. And I sat there, holding her, thinking, I've put up with this for too long. That ends tonight. From now on, no one gets to break her the way they tried to break me. At home, Mila walked into a different Christmas. Our tree was glowing, the lights were soft, the house smelled like cinnamon and turkey. We'd prepped a whole dinner the day before. It had just been waiting in the fridge while we went to my parents'. We reheated everything, sat down the three of us, and ate in peace. No fake smiles, no staged show. For the first time that day, it actually felt like Christmas. Mila had her cocoa, eyes already heavy. Dean carried her to bed. I tucked her in, sat by her side until she drifted off. No more tears, no questions. Just tired, trusting sleep. I sat in the kitchen with my tea, turning the mug in my hands, replaying what had just happened. That Santa stunt wasn't spontaneous. No, it was planned. Designed for one thing only, to humiliate my kid. to punish her, for daring to just be herself. And they didn't just hand her garbage, they gave her coal, like some grim punchline from those old Christmas legends. Naughty kids get coal. Except in real life, no one actually does it. Maybe you joke about it, sure, but handing coal to a child for real? That's cruelty, and my parents decided cruelty was exactly the point. I'm 35, married, with a daughter, running my own law practice. On paper, all grown up. But sometimes I still feel like that kid shoved into Adrian's shadow. She's only 3 years older than me, but it was enough. She was the star. I was the one who owes. Our parents weren't fancy people. Dad was a plant supervisor, Mom a secretary at some state office. Pretty average. But their obsession was appearances. The family should look respectable. Neighbors impressed, guests jealous. That was the mission. And that's where the divide started. Adrian knew how to sit pretty, smile on cue. When company came, she was displayed in the living room like a trophy. Me? I was sent to the kitchen. Help out, chop the salad, bring the bread. Mom would beam. This is our beautiful Adrian, adjusting her bow. And me? I wasn't ugly, but to them I was the workhorse. She was the showroom model. I was the one with grades, contests, awards. Didn't matter. In our family, straight A's were worth less than a good hair day. I could walk in holding a certificate for winning an academic competition and hear, "Couldn't you at least fix your hair? You look sloppy, Adrian, with 0 achievements." "Good girl, you tried." If I cried, I was dramatic. Adrian cried, "Poor thing, comfort her." If I argued, I was difficult. Adrian argued, she just had a strong personality, try to understand. Same story, different labels. Chores? I scrubbed floors. Adrian folded napkins nicely. That was fairness in our house. And always the same refrain. You should do better. You should help. You should understand. My shoulds never ended. Then Adrian married her golden boy. Manager at some big company, tailored suit, slick tie, straight out of a brochure. My parents looked at him like he was Willy Wonka's golden ticket. Now that's a son-in-law. Career, status, respectable family. They bragged about him like they'd raised him themselves. He was proof Adrian had made it. I brought home Dean, an engineer, quiet, steady, no showboating, solid as a rock. But in my family, solid didn't count. To them, he was plain, boring. They wanted flashy. A lawyer, a doctor, a banker. Which is funny because, hello, I am a lawyer. My own practice, clients, stability. But it wasn't the right kind of success. Because I wasn't Adrian. If I achieved something, it was not enough. If Adrian had landed a secretarial job at a law firm, look how well she's doing. That's how the scoreboard always worked. Her husband, idolized. Me and Dean, tolerated. Then her golden ticket ripped in half. Adrian's husband bailed, left her with 2 kids and a pile of debt. My parents clutched her like a wounded bird. Poor girl, life's been so cruel. And look, I agree, she deserved sympathy. Her husband was an asshole. But the problem was, Adrian became a permanent victim. And I became the permanent ATM. Heidi, you have to help. You're successful. You have a husband, stability. She's alone with 2 kids. It's so hard for her. So her bills landed on me. Kids' activities, dance, art classes, holiday presents, sometimes even her rent. And it wasn't framed as a request. It was an expectation. And my parents? Same deal. I was expected to top up their pensions, cover insurance, pay property taxes, chip in for house repairs. Roof leaking? My problem. A sea broken? My problem. Because you make money, you're supposed to share. And of course, that rule trickled down to Mila. She had better toys, a complete family, parents with good jobs, so apparently she owed her cousins. Even if they ripped a book or snapped a toy, Mila was told, be a good girl. Let them play. Their so-called generosity always flowed one way. I was supposed to help my sister. Mila was supposed to share with Stella and Anna, but no one ever suggested the reverse. If we had a spare dollar, it was communal. If they had a spare dollar, it was sacred. That was the family math. What's mine is everyone's, what's theirs is theirs. Mila felt it. She saw what the girls did with her things. Books came back doodled all over, dolls suddenly had new haircuts, dollhouse sets missing pieces. One day a broken chair, the next a shoe that vanished forever. Mila hated it, but she gave in. Because Grandma and Grandpa said so, and kids don't argue with that. At least, not until Thanksgiving. That time, Mila insisted on bringing her new doll. She'd only had it a week, but it was already her sidekick. Slept next to her, sat at the table, even got buckled into the car like a passenger. Right before we left, she looked at me and said, "I don't want to let them play with her." "They always ruin my stuff," I asked. "Want to just leave her at home?" She shook her head hard. "No, I want her with me." So I told her, "Fine. Then don't share if you don't want to. She's yours. You get to decide." It was the first time she really felt like she had permission to be herself. Thanksgiving at my parents' house was always the same. Too many guests, too much food, fake smiles plastered on my mom and dad's faces, their annual performance of perfect family. The second we walked in, Stella and Anna made a beeline for Mila. "What's that?" "Let us see." Their usual routine. Whatever Mila had, they had to grab immediately. No please, no asking, and as usual, Mila handed the doll over. That's when the circus started. They played house, only rough. Yanking the doll by her arms and legs, tossing her from chair to couch, shoving her in an empty cookie tin, trying to tuck her under the table like a dog bed. At feeding time, they smeared her face with a yellow crayon. "Baby food," they said. Mila trailed after them, begging, "Please don't draw on her." "Please be careful. It hurts her." They ignored her. "It washes off. Chill." Anna shrugged. By the end, the doll's dress was stained, the hair a tangled mess, and when Stella sat her on the couch, she toppled to the floor, came up with a crack in her leg. Mila grabbed her, eyes wet. "You broke her!" Anna rolled her eyes. "So what?" "It was an accident. She's just a toy." Half an hour later, they were back. "Let us play again. We'll be careful this time." Mila, this time, said flat out no. And then my mom, loud enough for the whole room, "Good girls share." "Don't you want people to think you're generous, or do you want them calling you selfish?" I shot back, calm but sharp. She doesn't have to share something precious to her, especially after it's already been damaged. And just like that, silence. Forks paused midair. My mom gave me the look, like I'd just torched her tablecloth. But that was only Act 1. Later, when everyone was eating pie and telling old stories, Mom decided to crank up her matriarch routine. "Mila, come give Grandma a kiss. Show everyone what a sweet girl you are." Mila frowned, and with perfect kid honesty said, "I don't want to." The room went awkward. Guests chuckled nervously. Someone tried a joke. My mom went red, fussing with napkins like rearranging fabric could erase what just happened. For her, it was humiliation. And then my dad closed the night. Kids were running around, playing tag, being loud. Mila brushed past his chair, bumped it slightly. He grumbled, half joking, "You're the noisiest kid in the family." Mila stopped, looked him dead in the eye, and said totally straight, "And you're always grumpy." Not rude, just honest. Guests laughed, someone even praised her wit. But Dad froze. His face went hard, and I knew he'd remember. So there it was, a broken doll, refusing to share, refusing to kiss Grandma, and a blunt comeback to Grandpa. For a normal family, kid stuff. For mine, proof she was spoiled. They needed a spectacle, a public lesson. They decided to stage their big morality play. Not to teach Mila, really. To put her in her place and remind us who held the power. When Dean and I had Mila, I swore she wouldn't grow up in the same cage I did. I'd teach her to be free, to say no when she wanted to. And she was learning. She didn't fake smiles, didn't pretend she liked something when she didn't. She sang, she argued, she ran wild like a normal kid. But to my parents, that was a diagnosis. Too spoiled. Too full of herself. What they really hated was simple. She wasn't broken. She was loved. And they couldn't stand it. Dean walked into the kitchen later, poured himself tea, and shook his head. You know what I can't wrap my head around? That they used Santa. To shame a kid. Their own granddaughter. To wreck Christmas, I sighed. Because they don't care about Christmas. Or magic. Or even her. What they care about is control. Everyone following their script. And the image. God forbid the guests see a crack in the mask of their perfect family. We sat in silence after that. And I thought about all the years I'd spent chasing their approval. And how it never came. You know what? They can choke on it. I looked at Mila's closed bedroom door and swore, from this night on, things would be different. They broke me for years, but I won't let them break her. Morning smelled like cinnamon and second chances. Mila woke up before the alarm, padded barefoot into the living room, and froze. 2 boxes under the tree, one big, one slim, tied with a ribbon. She squeezed her eyes shut, like she was afraid they'd vanish, then tore into the first one. Inside, a 2-story dollhouse. Wood, staircase, tiny furniture, even little lights glowing in the windows. Next to it, in a separate box, was the roommate. A doll with soft hair and outfits for every mood. Dress, coat, pajamas, goofy slippers. Mila looked at it all like someone just handed her back oxygen. I could hear her breathing shift. The second box was a book. On the title page, Dear Mila, thank you for being kind, honest, and brave. I always see it. Merry Christmas, Santa. She ran her finger across the words, hugged the book to her chest, and whispered, I knew the real Santa would never do that. After breakfast, she was setting up the dollhouse furniture, laughing again. And I thought, yeah, for that smile, I'd burn every bridge. And I did. Later, I opened my laptop. Cutting ties with family isn't some dramatic movie scene. It's boring little clicks. First stop, my parents. Monthly transfer, pension top-up, canceled. Their extra health insurance, card removed. Property tax contribution, gone. House insurance, same deal. Dean asked quietly, You think they'll notice? Oh, they'll notice, I said. When the insurance company calls, or when the first of the month comes and nothing hits their account. People always find out when the money dries up. Next, car expenses, fuel card, service plan, canceled. Their little emergency home fund I'd been topping up, closed and emptied. If the roof leaks again, they can call a contractor. Or sell the house. Grown adults can figure it out. And then, my favorite column, Adrian. First, the small stuff. Yanked my cards off their accounts. Cable, internet, all their premium packages the kids couldn't live without. Off our family cell plan, too. At one point, I'd added her and the girls to save them money. Well, now it's their bill. Let the carrier explain. Rent support? Deleted. For years, her hard months just happened to be the same months as sales and holidays. Not my problem anymore. Kids' activities. I'd been covering dance, art class, summer camps, costumes, team fees, endless list. Sent short emails to every program. Please remove my card from payment. Future charges go to the parent, no drama, just accounting. School lunches? Canceled the auto top-up. Schools are great at letting parents know when the balance hits 0. She'll find out. Sorry, girls, I thought. It's not your fault. But your mom and grandma just taught me a new word. Enough. And let me tell you, no has never felt so good. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of the "how could you" phone calls. For the first time, I drew a line not for them, but for me and for my kid. I had boundaries now, and nobody gets to cross them again. The silence lasted a few days. After the holidays, my parents didn't see their usual deposit. Adrian hit a payment declined at the dance studio, and then the calls started. First, my mom. "You must have forgotten to send the money." "No," I said calmly. "I didn't forget. And I'm not sending it anymore." She gasped like I'd just declared war. "How could you? We're family." "Exactly. And family doesn't do that to a child." Click. End of call. After that, it poured. Texts from my dad. "You're abandoning your parents. We raised you." Adrian writing, "The kids will lose their activities. Don't punish them." All the usual "you owe us" and "we counted on you." I didn't answer. Let them yell at the screen. Phones don't have feelings. Once Dean asked, "Maybe explain it to them?" I laughed. Explain what? That a trash bag and a lump of coal aren't a gift? That humiliating a 7-year-old isn't discipline? If they haven't figured that out by now, no speech of mine will fix it. Then they tried going through Mila. After school, my mom grabbed her hand and whispered, "It was just a Christmas joke. Tell your mom not to be mad." Mila came home confused. "Mom, was it really just a joke?" My stomach dropped. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order. No more jokes through my kid. No surprise ambushes at school. From now on, legal distance. The phone kept buzzing, group chats exploding. But to me, it wasn't pressure anymore. It was proof they finally understood. The free ride was over. Meanwhile, Mila was decorating her dollhouse. She built a tiny garden with plastic flowers and told me, "The rule here is, you don't touch other people's stuff without asking." I just stared at her. She'd already learned what took me decades to figure out. They can call, text, scream. For the first time in years, my silence was peaceful. Not out of fear, out of freedom. They lost access to my money. And to my life. 6 months later, we're good. Dean, Mila, and me. Normal. Mila loves school, adores her dollhouse, and just started guitar lessons on a kid-sized guitar that actually fits her. We work, we laugh, the house feels lighter. No more weight of being watched, measured, milked. The air's finally clean. My parents? Not so much. Without my extras, they had to taste reality. The little luxuries they loved, weekend trips, new status buys, gone. The house bills are theirs now, taxes, insurance, utilities. And of course they tell everyone, our ungrateful daughter abandoned us. Adrian? Same story. Rent, kids' activities, her tab, not mine. Summer's coming, the word camp floats around, but the money isn't there. She complains to friends. My sister betrayed me. Truth is, I just stopped financing her lifestyle. And me? I don't explain. Don't justify. Let them think what they want. I've got one rule now. Real family are the ones who protect Christmas, not the ones who turn it into a trash bag sideshow.